Hello everybody, welcome back to the Young Fan Podcast and welcome to another League One roundup. Can't wait to get into this one. 4 selected games this weekend. I can't wait to break them down, looking at key players, looking at the stats, looking at what it means for these teams now as we do head into the business end of this League One campaign. If you haven't subscribed, you haven't left a like, please do both of those things. I'll let you wait and see if it deserves a like first. But if you haven't subscribed, you want to see more of this sort of stuff, make sure you hit that subscribe button. On the long road to 1,000 subscribers, you can make that road much shorter by hitting that subscribe button. It would really mean the world. We've got a lot of subscribers coming on board recently. Be part of the journey and hit that red button. Some huge games this weekend. I've already told you we've got 4 selected games. Let's get straight into it. Starting off at... where are we going? We're going to Fleetwood. Fleetwood as they play against Ipswich Town. Let's have a look at this game. Let's have a look at the league table first before we look at the stats of the game. Got a bit of stick last week. Don't speak about Ipswich enough. That is fair. I haven't spoken about Ipswich Town probably enough as I should do. But don't worry, they're back this week. You are right, they're back. We'll talk about their game against Fleetwood this weekend. So let's have a look at the league table. Now that result, and now that 2-0 result has taken place. And you can see straight away, looking at the result and what it means for these teams going forward. Fleetwood are struggling. They're not struggling now. They've lost to Ipswich. They've been struggling for quite a while, and they're hovering just above that relegation zone, and they need to start getting some results. And to be honest, a home game against Ipswich, who are in good form, they've got a couple of draws, but before that, they won that game. And to be fair, their unbeaten run certainly is continuing as they do try and put a late push in for the top 6. It wasn't going to be one of those games where Fleetwood expect to get a win at all. These aren't the games where Fleetwood get 3 points, but it's a game where you want to be competitive. Can you get a point? Can you snatch something from this? And although it doesn't see them drop into that bottom 4, they are lurking and getting closer. And with the form they're currently on at the moment, it's not looking good at all. They are winless now for quite a while. And like I said, as for Ipswich, they are unfortunately still hovering outside those top 6. They can't climb their way in. And 56 points at the moment. It's not too far off the 61 points. It would get you into 6th spot. But you do feel they're just still knocking on the door. And a few draws they've had as of late have almost not let them down, but have slowed them down. So a draw against Morecambe, a draw against Cheltenham. Those are 2 games, Morecambe and Cheltenham back-to-back, where you get wins. They really could be in for a shout. But it's important they got the win today. It's important they got the 3 points today. And, you can look back on games. You can look back on games this season where they could have got wins. They started the season really badly. They sacked Paul Cook, but, like I said, they're really quite near past when we look at the Cheltenham game, the Morecambe game before this one. There could have been 3 points in there where they definitely could get into that top 6 or definitely be much closer than they currently are. But they're certainly not out of it. They're certainly not out of the race, and they certainly are still knocking on that door. And they had a brilliant game today. We look at that attacking momentum graph. Ipswich are in blue. And they actually scored their goals fairly late in the game. In the second half, they scored around, I'll get the exact time here, the 72nd minute and the 81st minute. Both goals coming, the first one coming from Sam Morsey, the second one coming from Bon. Morsey getting man of the match in the game as well, down to sofa score. But you can see across the game, generally, Fleetwood didn't really create anything. And if there was an attacking moment in the game, Ipswich were the ones that had those chances. They had those moments in that first half. Nothing really happened. Fleetwood had a spell just before half time, but other than that, genuinely Ipswich had control in the game. They definitely looked like the team on the front foot, trying to create chances, trying to cause problems at Fleetwood. It does look like they definitely did succeed in that. The start of the second half looked Fleetwood's game, really. First sort of 10-15 minutes, Fleetwood looked like they could come out. They sort of ended the first half well and started the second half fairly well as well. But after that, it looked like an absolute Ipswich slaughter, really, in the way they were creating chances and certainly turning on the heat. And putting Fleetwood and pinning Fleetwood back in the game. And you felt that in those 2 spikes, they needed to get those goals. You speak about 1-1 against Morecambe and a 0-0 against Cheltenham. They needed to make sure they break the deadline. They needed to make sure they get away and come away from Fleetwood today with 3 points. And they did that really well. The 2 biggest spikes across that quite big chunk of attacking force in that second half. They did get those goals. That's really important. Still sticking with the formation. They're going with the 3 at the back with Sam Morsey in front of them. And then Dominic Thompson, I believe, was on loan from Brentford. And then Wes Burns, who's been brilliant this season as well on that right-hand side. So you've almost got the wing-back, similar to Oxford, how they play at the moment as well, with the wing-backs, but almost wingers, really anything that do come back and help out defensively. But that strong back 3 with the 4th man just in front of them. So they're sticking with that formation, and Kieran McKenna clearly is very comfortable in playing in that formation, and it's doing them well this season. Since he's come in, he's had a few up and down results, but generally now, like I said, they are unbeaten in a while. But we're hoping to maybe turn those draws into wins, but they are now doing that, and they have done that today, so they're going to be happy with that. In terms of the stats across the game, 68% possession for Ipswich. They dominated the game. You can see that through the momentum graph in terms of going forward. They definitely look like they had the team with creating more of the chances, and it looks like they had more of the ball as well. 68% possession, in control of the game as well, not allowing Fleetwood to get any rhythm in that game. We'll talk about the big chances as well. 3 big chances. They did miss one, but generally still dominant in creating chances. High XG, and Fleetwood, they look pretty poor across the pitch, really. 6 shots in the game. No big chances created as well. That'll be a concern for Fleetwood. You want to try and get themselves out of this situation, creating chances, hiring that XG is what's going to get you those, or definitely going to help you try and get out of the relegation battle you currently find yourself in. That's the issue for Fleetwood, but it's not a good result for Fleetwood, but a brilliant result for Kieran McKenna and Ipswich Town. They get to back to winning ways after 2 draws in their last 2. Still in for a hunt for the playoffs. Not completely they're in the pack, but they're still a few points away, 4 or 5 points away from the playoff places, but they still are in for a chance. It finishes Fleetwood 0, Ipswich Town 2. So let's next up go to Lincoln City as they hosted Sheffield Wednesday. And what I would say is, we'll look at the league table, straight away without even needing to look at the league table. Lincoln haven't enjoyed the best of seasons at all, and they are probably in a relegation battle. After the win today, they're maybe not so much in one at all, but they certainly are, with the form they're on and the points they're currently on, or were on before the 3 they got today. They definitely were in for a shout of being into a bit of a late scrap to make sure they stay in the league. But with a win today, that's massive for them, absolutely huge for Lincoln City and for Michael Appleton, because I think what is important to say about Lincoln is they haven't had the best of seasons. What they need to make sure they do now is not worry about a relegation battle, not worry about going down, stay in the league, rebuild, go again. Not rebuild, but definitely go again in the summer, and regroup is the best way of putting it, in the summer. And staying up what you need to do that. You don't want to be doing that in League 2 after a really good season last year. Just stay in the league this year and then regroup, go again, add some more players to the squad, go back to what you're best at, really, and bring in the really good recruitment in the summer, and then go on from there. And getting wins is what's gonna do you that, and fair play to them today. They did really, really well in getting a win against Sheffield Wednesday. Looking at it from a Sheffield Wednesday perspective, of course they were 5th before this game. They now dropped down to 6th. They're still in that top 6, and the 3 wins they got before the defeat today has sort of almost kept them in there, because some really important 3 points. But today, a defeat, that's a concern for Darren Moore. That'll be a worry. And we went to Lincoln City and Oxford United. We went to Lincoln City and we lost. I think it was 2-1. We lost. Was it 2-1? 2-0. I think 2-0. We lost against Lincoln City. And they were a really, really difficult team to break down. They did really, really well going forward. Defensively, we couldn't break them down. So it's a difficult place to go. And although they're not in great form, we've had problems going there. And Sheffield Wednesday seems to have problems clearly going there this afternoon. And that's going to be not a hit. It's a hit, but it's not a massive hit in their promotion hopes, but it definitely didn't help them, and you want to try and stay in the top 6. They have done that, but only because Sunderland couldn't get a win really when they drew against Charlton. What I would say, and looking at across the both teams, the average ratings, it didn't look like an awful Sheffield Wednesday performance. We also look at that attacking momentum graph as well, and how the game panned out. It started the game with Lincoln City sort of dominating, and they got their goal really early on that first patch, and it was all Sheffield Wednesday really. Then they get their equaliser, then sort of goes quite quiet, and then Lincoln City end the half probably best out of the 2 sides. Then we go into the second half, and then a little bit even, but generally Lincoln City have a big patch in that sort of middle of the park of the half, and then get 2 goals and win the game 3-1. And then in the end of the game, where it's mainly Sheffield Wednesday, leaves a little bit too much of a steep mountain to climb for Sheffield Wednesday, and they can't get 1 or 2 goals to get right back in the game and end up coming away from something. But ultimately, fair play to Lincoln City. A tough game, not in good form at all. This could be a really, really big morale booster as they do move away from from a relegation battle. And ultimately for Sheffield Wednesday, it's not a great result for them today. They do stay in the top 6, as we already mentioned, but you've got to make sure this doesn't derail anything. Make sure this doesn't sort of upset too many players and frustrate too many players, because of course that's the worst thing you can do in the middle of a season where you are looking to finish in that top 6. Not the end of the world at all, but certainly a bit of a shock result, to be honest, as Lincoln City beat Sheffield Wednesday. Finished Lincoln City 3, Sheffield Wednesday 1. So then where are we going next? We're going to be going to Rotherham, because Rotherham, who are league leaders, are being shocked, or were shocked, or maybe not so much shocked, but were beaten, should I say, definitely, by a team that are high-flying in League One this season. So impressed by MK Dons. And ironically, the one game I wasn't impressed with MK Dons is the game I actually watched them play for 90 minutes. I watched them play against Oxford United probably about 2 months ago now. We went there and won 2-1. They looked like a decent side, but we won the game fairly, not comfortably, but it was 2-1, but we won the game fairly well, and did really quite well to get those 3 points. And that's the way that game went. But since then, really, that must have been the last game. I think I'm right. They lost to Doncaster. But before that must have been the last game they lost to Oxford, against Oxford, sorry. And since then, they've been absolutely high-flying. 4 wins on the bounce going into this game. The confidence is high. I think I predicted a draw in this game. And to go on and win the game, MK Dons, absolutely phenomenal. They're doing an absolutely brilliant job this season. Really, really are. I mean, Nick Harris said it himself. The surprise package of this League One campaign. But they're playing some brilliant football and getting some massive results. Going to Rotherham, who are having a fantastic season, probably will end up going and winning the title, and going there and winning 2-1. Brilliant stuff. And like I said, ironically, the game where I wasn't that impressed with MK Dons was a game I actually watched them play, but the results since then, the performance from what I'm hearing since then, have been second to none. And again today, they had to put in a top-class performance to go and beat the league leaders, 2-1, and fair play to them. I look at the attacking momentum graph in the game. MK Dons started the game really, really strong. Then Rotherham had a moment in the game. Then Rotherham had a man sent off in the game as well. I believe a straight red card for Danny Harvey. Professional foul, last man. There it is. And 25th minute, Daniel Barlesa scores the penalty. I believe that looks at similar timing. It looks as though that might have been the last man and then the penalty given. Daniel Barlesa scores the goal and makes it 1-0. So... Sorry, did I say Rotherham got a man sent off? Sorry, MK Dons got a man sent off. So they're playing with 10 men, and they still got to win the game. So then Rotherham, take the lead from that sending off from the MK Dons man. So MK Dons are now down to 10 men, going in against the league leaders, losing 1-0. Up against the wall is the word you'd probably use, and they come out and they do not give in. They do not give up, and that's what I think this MK Dons side are doing so well this season, is they're just not giving in. And again, they have their backs against the wall, down to 10 men against Rotherham United in this game. The 57th minute, Harry Darling scores, then Mohamed Aissa scores in the 59th minute, and it's then 2-1, and that game now changes on its head completely. Also, looking at the average percentage, you can see here the average ratings from both sides across both and all of the players. Very, Rotherham had a higher average rating, 6.74. I mean, the red card and the player with a 3.7 rating probably didn't help at all. But generally, across the pitch, you can see there, Rotherham didn't have a bad average rating, really, overall. And in the second half, like I said, MK Dons get their goal, and then Rotherham pretty much then control the game from there on in. But it doesn't matter for MK Dons. They come away with the win. They come away with the 3 points on the road against Rotherham. Brilliant win for them today, as they continue to probably hunt down Wigan and maybe Rotherham for a late automatic promotion push. I think it might be a little bit out of sight, but ultimately a brilliant win today. And however you look at it, against the wall with 10 men for the majority of the game and going 1-0 down, a brilliant job. 57% possession for Rotherham. They dominated possession. They had more shots. They had more shots on target. In terms of big chances, they had more as well. It looks as though Rotherham did definitely have moments in the game to go and maybe get more than a defeat. They sound like they got a little bit robbed, but ultimately MK Dons, they had their chances. They took their chances. They took the confidence as well, and they went on to win the game. Fair play to MK Dons. It finishes Rotherham 1, MK Dons 2. So finally then, where are we going to go finally? Of course, we're going to have to go to Gillingham as Bolton continue to... They don't give up, do they, Bolton? They really don't give up. They have these difficult setbacks. They lose some games. They'll be a bit frustrated. You go, sure, that's over. Sure, that's the big hit that's going to knock them out of the playoff race. They beat Gillingham 3-0 this afternoon. We'll have a look at the league table. They're 11th in the league. So it certainly is not guaranteed they'll finish in the top 6 at all. They have got, though, they are 7 points away from 6th spot. So it's tight. I think Bolton have almost got to win every game. They almost have got to win every single game from there on in to go and get in that top 6. But it's certainly not over, and it's not over till it's over. And a win today was very important. I think I did my predictions episode. I think I said a draw. I thought Gillingham were in really good form. Not really good form, but they were getting better. They won their last game, and they lost again today, so it's not great for them. But we talk about Bolton. We look at these recent form. These are both sides' recent form in their last games. And you can see, I want to actually look at the fixtures coming up for Bolton, but ultimately today was a really, really big win. And although I predicted a draw, a lot of people said it almost had to be a win for Bolton. If they wanted to stay in this race for top six, a win is a must. And I look at the league table now, it certainly is. You've almost got to win every game. That's why I want to look at the fixture list before we end this episode, because I think it's so important to look at what Bolton have got coming up next, because 3 points is going to be what you need. You've got Plymouth who are winning games, Portsmouth who are winning games and doing really well. Ipswich haven't lost in a while. Plymouth won again today. Sunderland draw. Sheffield Wednesday lose, but Wycombe win again today as well. There's 2 wins on the bounce now for them. So you've got teams winning around you. You need to win pretty much every game. As for Gillingham, 22nd in the league. Another defeat again today. Another bit of a setback, you'd say, in their relegation hunt to try and get out of that bottom 4. 3 points still away from 20th spot. But of course, get them out of the bottom 4. A disappointing result for them again today. Looks as though, looking at attacking momentum graph, it looks as though it was the Bolton show. It looks as though it was a little bit of a Bolton massacre at points in the game. It started the game fairly even. You probably would edge it towards Gillingham, but then from then on, it looked like it was going to be the Bolton show, with a few exceptions of minor attacks and minor moments in the game for Gillingham. It looked as though it did. We look at the red card as well. The red card did happen in that second half, but Bolton 1-up going into that second half. They got their goal in the 31st minute. Aaron Morley, I believe they signed from Rochdale in January, got a goal in the game, and again that half they're pretty much dominating. Going into the second half, they started the second half really, really well. A red card in there for Gillingham, and they're going to add to that and get a second goal of the game as well. At that point, 10 men, and then go and concede your second, and you lose the game, and you're losing the game 2-0 for Gillingham. It definitely does look a little bit like an upward battle, and then you pile on the misery with Bolton, then scoring their third goal of the game as well. So it finishes in the end Gillingham 0, Bolton 3, and a brilliant win. Now I would say look at Bolton's fixtures, because I think Bolton do need to win the majority, if not all, of their games coming up. They've got to play Morecambe at home. You probably would expect them to win that game. Then Plymouth at home, huge game. Absolutely massive game for both sides. If Bolton win that one, a home advantage, you'd like to think they could go get something from it. They almost do need to win that one though, but a massive game for both sides. Crewe away, you'd expect them to win that game. Portsmouth at home, they've got some massive home games. Portsmouth at home, that would be absolutely gigantic. Wigan away, going to be very, very tough, but they need to almost get a point from that game. Then another huge game. Wow. Massive game. Sheffield Wednesday at home. Doncaster away, would expect them to win that game. Accrington at home, you probably want them to win that game. Cheltenham away, you probably want to win that game. And then Fleetwood at home, probably want to win that game as well. So they've got games in there you would expect them to win, but there's some huge games there. Plymouth at home, Sheffield Wednesday at home, and Pompey at home. They're huge for Portsmouth. For Bolton. They could be. They could be. They will be decisive whether or not they finish in that top 6. Elsewhere, though, we haven't, obviously, they're the 4 games we're truly breaking down with detail, but I can say Charlton drew with Sunderland 0-0. It does mean Sunderland now drop out of that top 6. As for Charlton, a single point isn't the end of the world. They do now, and they're not going to get their 6th consecutive defeat. A draw today does stop them from that that defeat and that losing run that they were currently on. So a draw against Sunderland in the end is that result. Elsewhere across the games, Wigan beat. Am I on the wrong match week? I think I am. That's embarrassing. I wasn't though, was I? Yeah, I was. Was I? Am I? Where am I? No, Cheltenham very, very comfortably beat Doncaster. Doncaster a little bit all over the shop now. A very, very good, convincing Cheltenham win. 4-0 again. Alfie May having a brilliant game as well. I think I predicted 0-0 for Cambridge United against Shrewsbury Town. I apologise. It really was 0-0. Doesn't sound like the brilliant of watches in that game. Looks like Shrewsbury probably should have won the game. They're looking at attacking mental graph at first glance. Plymouth, a really important win for them. They beat Morecambe by 2-0. Portsmouth smash Accrington Stanley 4-0 as well. A brilliant result for Portsmouth. They continue backing up a brilliant result on Tuesday against Oxford with a thumping result against Accrington Stanley today. A brilliant result for them. Fair play to them. Doing really, really well at the moment. Wycombe back to winning ways. Another win for them on Tuesday. Another win for them again today as well. Beating Crewe by 3-1. Oxford, of course, beating Burton. Brilliant win for us. Still fourth in the league. Match reaction out on the channel as you're watching this as well. Spoken about those two games. Wigan beating AFC Wimbledon by 1-0. A narrow win, but a very, very important win for Wigan as they continue now to hunt down Rotherham, who have, of course, lost. We've spoken about today as well. Could they be put in a last minute or late title run? Maybe, I don't know, but a really good win for Wigan in this one. And like I've already said as well, Charlton and Sunderland draw 0-0. Looked as though, it was certainly all Sunderland. Looks like Sunderland definitely had the better of the two sides, but ultimately for Charlton, it's not another defeat, and it's a draw, and it could be a slight piece of confidence. I can see there, their goalkeeper got man of the match. Says quite a lot about that game. I'm tempted to have a little look at it. Let's have a little sneaky look at this game. 63% possession, 17 shots. Looks as though it was a Sunderland go at Charlton, in which in the end they couldn't get away with anything other than a point. Anyway, hopefully you've enjoyed this episode of the podcast, little roundup of League One, of all of the action from this weekend in League One. If you haven't subscribed, if you think it's warranted a like, please hit that like button, but subscribe as well if you're new. Until next time, stay safe, take care. I'll see you all very, very soon. See you in a bit.